what I'm gonna do without you.
There are songs that make you remember a decade. And then there are songs that make you remember a person you thought you had forgotten.
Wondering.
In the 1970s, some of the most beautiful voices in country and soul turned heartbreak, regret, loneliness, and impossible love into records that still feel painfully alive. And one song near the top of this list came from a man whose career was already being written off when he recorded it. Welcome to Saddle Sounds, where we dig through the golden years of country and soul to bring forgotten stories, legendary voices, and the songs that shaped generations back to life.
When it comes to saying goodbye.
Number 12. Ray Price, For the Good Times, 1970. Before this song became a standard, it was simply a sad little piece of writing by a young songwriter named Kris Kristofferson.
Let's just be glad.
Ray Price heard something in it that other people could have easily missed. The song wasn't about a dramatic breakup.
Hold your warm.
There was no betrayal, no screaming, no revenge. It was quieter than that.
Hear the whisper.
Two people knew the relationship was ending, and instead of pretending otherwise, one of them simply asked the other to remember the good times. Price had already spent years as one of country music's giants. But by 1970, Nashville was changing. Younger sounds were entering country music.
Upon my pillow.
And the traditional honky-tonk world that had made Price famous was beginning to feel like yesterday. Then came For the Good Times. Price recorded it with a smoother, more sophisticated sound than the hard-driving country music that had defined much of his earlier career. And suddenly, the old master sounded completely new. The record became a massive crossover success and helped introduce Kristofferson's songwriting to an audience far beyond the small circle of people who knew his name. But here's what most people don't know. Circle of people who knew his name. But here's what most people don't know. Kristofferson didn't originally write the song as a country classic. It had been recorded before Price's version.
Hear the whisper.
But Price's interpretation transformed it. His voice didn't fight the sadness. It surrendered to it.
I'll get along.
That was the secret. Sometimes the most painful goodbye isn't angry. Sometimes it's two people sitting quietly, knowing there is nothing left to save. For the Good Times
Upon my pillow
became one of the defining ballads of the early 1970s because it understood something heartbreak rarely admits.
Let's just.
Love doesn't always end because somebody did something terrible. Sometimes it simply ends. And the memories are all you have left.
Warm and tender.
Number 11. Sammy Smith, Help Me Make It Through the Night, 1970.
Come and lay down by my side.
Sammy Smith wasn't supposed to become one of the defining voices of country music. She had grown up in Oklahoma,
Try to understand.
singing in local clubs and working her way through the rougher side of the music business. She wasn't a polished Nashville princess.
Help me make it.
She sounded lived in, and that mattered. When Chris Christopherson wrote, "Help me make it through the night,"
Through the night.
he gave Smith something dangerous for its time. A song about loneliness, desire,
Alone.
and two people seeking comfort without pretending it was something more. Country radio in 1970 could be conservative, very conservative.
Come and lay down.
Yet Smith sang the song with such vulnerability that the controversy couldn't stop it.
All day tomorrow.
The record became a #1 country hit and won Smith a Grammy for Best Country Vocal Performance, Female.
And tomorrow.
But success did not turn her into the superstar people expected. That's the strange part.
Help me make it.
She had one of the biggest country songs of the decade, yet the machinery of Nashville never quite built an empire around her.
Get through the night.
And there was another twist. Smith had initially been working as a backing singer before her breakthrough. The woman singing one of the decade's most intimate songs had spent years standing behind other voices. Then suddenly, the spotlight found her. But it didn't stay long.
On my hair.
Her story is one of the great reminders that having the right song doesn't always guarantee a permanent
Against your skin.
place in the industry. Sometimes you get one moment, one perfect record,
But I don't care.
one voice captured at exactly the right time. And then the industry moves on.
I need a friend.
But Smith left behind something impossible to erase. A
Out of sight.
song that sounded almost like someone whispering a confession at 2 a.m. And if that already feels lonely, wait until you hear what happened to the voice behind the next one.
And yesterday is day.
Number 10. Crystal Gayle, "Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue," 1977.
Been so blue.
Crystal Gayle had something people remembered immediately. That hair, that voice,
Cry all night long.
and a sound that seemed to float between country, pop, and adult contemporary music.
Tell me some lies. Give me no.
But "Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue" wasn't supposed to become the defining record of her career.
But don't say goodbye.
The song was written by Richard Lee, and when Gayle recorded it, nobody could have known how far it would travel.
But honey, now I.
The sadness in the song is almost disguised by its beauty. A woman is watching someone she loves walk away. She doesn't scream. She doesn't beg. She simply asks him not to make her brown eyes blue. That restraint was everything. The song became a major crossover hit, reaching #1 on the country chart and climbing high on the pop chart as well. It helped establish Gayle as one of the most successful crossover artists of the decade. But here's the part people forget. Crystal Gayle had been working for years before this song gave her the breakthrough everyone remembers. And she had a famous connection to another country legend. Her older sister was Loretta Lynn. Imagine living in the shadow of one of country music's biggest stars and trying to build a name that belonged entirely to you. Gayle eventually did, but she didn't copy her sister. She created something softer, more elegant, almost fragile. And that's why the song survived. Because sometimes heartbreak isn't loud. Sometimes it walks out the door quietly. Number 9. Brook Benton, Rainy Night in Georgia, 1970. If you want to understand loneliness, listen to Brook Benton. Rainy Night in Georgia sounds like someone who has spent too many nights alone and has stopped expecting anybody to come looking.
Such a rainy night.
The song was written by Tony Joe White, but Benton gave it the emotional weight that made it unforgettable.
Well, I feel like it's raining all.
By the time Benton recorded it, his career had already suffered a long decline. He had enjoyed major success in the 1950s, but changing musical tastes had pushed him away from the center of popular music. Then came this song. A rainy night, a lonely traveler,
To pass some time.
a world that feels enormous when there is nobody waiting for you. Benton's voice doesn't sound like he's performing.
To my chest, and I feel fine.
It sounds like he's remembering. The record became a major pop and R&B success and revived a career that had been fading. That comeback is part of what makes the record so powerful.
Oh, have you ever been lonely, people? And you
Benton wasn't a young singer waiting for his first chance. He was a veteran getting one more moment.
You're talking about the raining.
And he took it. There is something almost cruel about how perfectly the song fit his situation.
Over the world. Well, I said,
A man singing about loneliness after the industry had largely moved on from him.
raining all over.
But here's the hidden beauty. The song didn't need Benton to sound young. It needed him to sound tired.
Raining. Oh,
And he did. That wasn't weakness. That was authenticity. The world may have been changing around him, but for a few minutes, Brook Benton made loneliness sound beautiful.
rainy night in Georgia.
And sometimes the greatest comeback doesn't announce itself. It simply arrives on a rainy night. Number 8. Willie Nelson, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, 1975.
Eyes crying in the rain.
Willie Nelson had spent years writing songs other artists made famous.
We'd never meet again.
He had written Crazy for Patsy Cline. He had written hits for others. He had already proven he could write.
Only memories remain.
But his own recording career was a different story. For years, Nashville didn't quite know what to do with him.
Remember.
His voice was unconventional. His phrasing was strange. His hair was getting longer. His ideas about music didn't fit neatly into the Nashville system. Then he recorded Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain. The song itself wasn't new. It had been written decades earlier by Fred Rose. But Nelson's version sounded as though it had been waiting for him. There was almost nothing excessive about it.
Someday when we meet again.
His guitar. His voice. A little space. And a story about love disappearing. The song became Nelson's first #1 country hit. As a solo artist, and helped push him toward the creative freedom that would define the outlaw country movement. But here's the part that makes the story special. Nelson wasn't trying to prove he could sing louder than anybody.
In the rain.
He was proving he didn't have to. The cracks in his voice became part of the beauty. The pauses mattered.
Through the ages.
The imperfections mattered. And suddenly, the man Nashville had struggled to categorize sounded more authentic than almost anyone on the radio. Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain didn't just become a hit. It helped change the perception of Willie Nelson. He wasn't a songwriter standing behind other people's careers anymore. He was the story.
Someday when.
And that story was only beginning, because the next song wasn't about losing someone.
Yeah.
It was about realizing you were losing them while you were still together. Number 7. Gladys Knight and the Pips. Neither One of Us, 1972. There are breakups where somebody cheats. There are breakups where somebody leaves. And then there are breakups where two people simply realize the love has already died. Neither one of us lives in that painful space. Gladys Knight didn't need to scream. She didn't need revenge. She sang like somebody trying to hold together a relationship that was already slipping through her fingers. By 1972, Gladys Knight and the Pips had already spent years working toward major success. Their move to Motown had brought them greater visibility, but their relationship with the label eventually became complicated. Then came this song. It became one of their signature records and a major pop and R&B hit. But the emotion is what made it different. Knight sounds exhausted, not angry. Exhausted. And that is a much harder emotion to fake. The song was written by Jim Weatherly, who had also written other major songs for Knight. But what made this recording special was the way Knight turned the words into something almost conversational. It sounds like a woman asking a question she already knows the answer to.
Word that I just cannot.
Who is going to walk away first? And here's the part that still hurts.
There can be no way, there can be no way.
Sometimes the person you love isn't your enemy. They're simply no longer your future.
No, no.
The record became one of the defining soul ballads of the early 1970s. But listen closely,
Sing ourselves.
and you hear something deeper. You hear surrender. And surrender can be more devastating than anger. Number 6. Paul McCartney and Wings, My Love, 1973. At first glance, My Love sounds like a simple love song. But its story begins with one of the most famous relationships in popular music.
When the carpet's bare,
Paul McCartney wrote it for Linda McCartney.
my love, yeah.
The former Beatle had already experienced the unimaginable pressure of being one of the most famous musicians on earth.
I love, does it?
Then the Beatles ended. The band that had defined an era was gone.
I love,
And McCartney had to figure out who he was without it. Linda became central to that new chapter.
oh, my love,
She wasn't merely his wife. She became part of his musical world.
does it hurt to me?
Joining Wings, despite having little formal keyboard training. Critics attacked the decision. Some people believed McCartney had put her in the band because she was his wife, but McCartney stayed with her. We go looking for the stories underneath them, the heartbreak, the struggle, the voices that made these records feel human. If this kind of music history means something to you, stay with us, because
Many miles away,
the next 6 songs get even more emotional. Number 5. Roberta Flack, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face,
for our new album. And it's a song I really love.
1972. This song almost never became the massive hit we remember.
I'd like to dedicate it to her.
Roberta, but the 1970s. Sometimes the quietest voice could stop an entire room. And when Flack sings about seeing someone's face for the first time, number 4. His marriage to Anna Gordy Gay had deteriorated. His relationship with the man behind the microphone was struggling. The voice coming through the spinal experience, rather than simply singing it. The audience wasn't just listening. They were being pulled into his loneliness. And perhaps that's why his ballads still feel so intimate. Marvin Gaye never sounded like he was pretending everything was fine. He needed the song too. And when an artist sings from that place, the listener can feel it. Love becomes regret. Number 3. Elvis Presley, Always on My Mind, 1972.
quite as good as I should have.
The strange thing about Always on My Mind is that it was not originally an Elvis Presley song.
Tell
The composition was written by Mark James, Wayne Carson, and Johnny Christopher,
Give me one.
and several artists recorded it before and around Elvis's version. But Elvis gave the song something nobody else could quite duplicate:
Little things I should have said and done.
regret. He had been married to Priscilla Presley since 1967. He wasn't singing about being the perfect husband. He was admitting he had failed in ways that mattered. Maybe he didn't say enough. Maybe he didn't show enough. Maybe he loved someone but didn't know how to make that love visible.
Maybe I didn't love.
That is why the song continues to hurt. Because regret is different from heartbreak.
Maybe I didn't hold you.
Heartbreak says, "You left me." Regret says, "I should have done more."
Quite as often as I.
Elvis's version became a country hit, reaching the country charts, and it has remained one of his most enduring later recordings. But here's the part that makes it almost uncomfortable. The king of rock and roll was singing about something incredibly ordinary.
Good as I should have.
And perhaps that's why the record has survived so many decades. Because fame cannot protect anybody from regret.
Little things I should have said.
You can have millions of people screaming your name and still go home wondering whether the person you love knows how much they mean to you.
You're always on.
And then we reach number 2, a song that turned poverty into poetry. Number 2, Merle Haggard, If We Make It Through December, 1973.
If we make it through December.
Merle Haggard understood working people because he had lived their world. He knew prison.
And I shiver when I see the falling.
He knew poverty. He knew rejection. He knew what it felt like to be told you weren't going anywhere.
Got plans to be in a warmer town.
And in 1973, he wrote one of the most devastating Christmas songs country music had ever heard.
We make it through December, we'll be fine.
If we make it through December, this wasn't Christmas as celebration. It was Christmas as survival.
Heaven knows I've been working.
A factory worker loses his job. His family needs him. The bills are waiting.
It's meant to be the happy time.
And the holiday season, which is supposed to represent warmth and happiness, becomes another reminder
If we make it through
that he cannot provide what his family deserves. That story hit hard
it's the coldest time of winter.
because America was going through economic uncertainty. People were losing jobs. Families were struggling.
We make it through December.
And suddenly, country radio had a song that didn't pretend everything would be okay. Haggard himself understood hardship.
Make it through December, we'll be fine.
His childhood had been marked by poverty after his father's death. His teenage years included crime and incarceration. Yet he eventually became one of country music's most important storytellers. That history mattered.
All right, I know.
When Haggard sang about a working man afraid he couldn't make it through December, it didn't sound like an actor playing a role.
And snow. If
It sounded like a man who knew exactly what desperation felt like. The song became a major country hit,
if we make it through December, we'll be fine.
but its greatest achievement was emotional. It made poverty visible. It made struggling families visible.
Diamond's not the greatest in the world.
And it reminded country music that sometimes the saddest stories aren't about romantic heartbreak.
And my little girl don't understand.
Sometimes the heartbreak is simply trying to keep your family together. The world hears a Christmas song.
If we make it through December.
A struggling family hears their own life. And that is why it still hurts.
It's the coldest time of winter.
But if you think that is the most devastating ballad on this list, stay with me.
December.
Because number one doesn't just tell a story about love. It makes you confront what happens when love refuses to die. Number 1. Tammy Wynette and George Jones, Golden Ring, 1976. There may be more famous country ballads. There may be bigger hits. But few songs tell the story of a broken marriage as brutally as Golden Ring. And nobody could have performed it better than George Jones and Tammy Wynette. Because their own marriage had already become country music mythology. They had married in 1969. They became one of country music's most famous couples. Together, they recorded hits. They toured. They built an image that looked almost perfect from the outside. But behind the records was addiction, conflict, emotional instability, and a marriage that eventually collapsed. Their divorce became final in 1975. And then, astonishingly, they continued recording together. Golden Ring arrived in 1976. The song tells the story of a wedding ring, but the ring is almost a character itself. It begins in a jewelry store. Then it becomes part of a marriage. Then the marriage breaks. And eventually the ring ends up back in the cycle, waiting for another couple to give it meaning. It's a devastating concept, because the ring survives, the marriage doesn't. And that idea becomes even darker when you remember who was singing it. George Jones and Tammy Wynette were not strangers to the story. They were living the aftermath of it. Jones had battled alcoholism for years. Wynette had her own serious health and personal struggles. Their relationship had become one of the great tragedies of country music. Yet when they sang together, something extraordinary happened. The voices still fit. Perfect. That may be the cruelest part. Two people who could no longer make the marriage work could still make the music. Golden Ring became a major country hit and one of their signature recordings. But listen to it now, and it feels almost like a ghost story. A relationship dies. The ring remains. The voices remain. The memories remain. and the audience is left wondering whether some relationships are simply too powerful to disappear completely. That's what makes Golden Ring so devastating. It isn't just a song about divorce. It's about the strange afterlife of love. Sometimes the person leaves. Sometimes the marriage ends. Sometimes the photographs disappear into boxes. But something remains. A song. A voice. A memory. A ring. And perhaps that is what the greatest ballads of the 1970s did better than anything else. They didn't try to make heartbreak beautiful. They simply told the truth about it. These songs came from different worlds. Country, soul, pop, R&B, but they understood the same human language. Loneliness, desire, poverty, love, loss, and survival. Some of these singers were already legends when they recorded these songs. Others were fighting. Some got the comeback they deserved. Some never did. But every one of them left something behind. A voice that still sounds alive. A lyric that still catches in the throat. That is why the 1970s refused to disappear. The clothes changed. The cars changed.
In a little wedding chapel later.
The radio changed. The world changed. But heartbreak didn't. And neither did love. Hear the years they spent trying to get there. Hear what they lost. Hear what they survived. Because these weren't just ballads. They were pieces of people's lives. And for a few precious minutes, every time the needle drops, those lives come back. And maybe that's the greatest gift an old song can give us. It doesn't bring the past back. It simply reminds us that the past was once alive.